Hey, shalom. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday when this is originally being made. Welcome to our live premiere. Hope you're here commenting live with us in the chat. If you missed it, then leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. Today we are continuing working through the Torah with our directed Hebrew immersion, and we are continuing with the book of Exodus. We are in Exodus chapter 28, starting with verse 24. And let me just say a real quick prayer. Avinu malkeinu ken yirah ratzon ki tishlachna az ruchacha aleinu ki anachnu yochalim lilmod tov b'einecha. Lo lanu v'lecha yeh kol hakavod ki ze ata asher natata lanu et toratecha. Lord our God, may it be your will that you will bless us all and help us all to study well. Please help all of my students with their Hebrew skills, that everyone who has a desire to learn the Holy Tongue would be able to grow and learn and help me to ever increase my teaching skills, to learn from them, from positive comments or even positive critiques. We do this all not for our glory, but for your glory. Okay, so here we are. Exodus chapter 28, verse 24. And we'll just go through and cant that first, and then we'll break it apart. ונתתה את שתei העבתות הזהב על שתei הטבעות אל קצות החשן. Please leave me a comment how the volume's working out, if it's loud enough, does it sound raspy, does it sound clear? I turned down something in the software a little bit, which might make the volume a little bit quieter, but I'm hoping it will remove any of these clipping issues we've been having. Okay, so let's look at the very first word. It's ונתתה. Now this is the verb that many of you know, natan, natan. So I'll just write the root up here on the top. Natan. And in ancient Hebrew, it would have been natanta. You'll notice we have a strong dagesh here in the top. That's because the noon used to be sandwiched between these two, and the Masoretes are showing us that it's been preserved as natanta became natatata. There's two tavs there. So it went inside of the tav. You can think of it like this. Like he just like, if this helps you, then great. He went inside. And that's the evidence that he's there, the little dot that's in there. Let me just zoom in so you guys can see that. And then the ta ending, ta, this is an older way to spell it, but it's really closer to the mnemonic that I've been showing you guys. Should have colored the tav first. If you're new here, you're welcome. This is directed Hebrew immersion. You don't have to know all the grammar. It's okay if you just want to go through these lessons with us and learn a couple things each lesson. That's highly appropriate. We've got a lot of people that have been doing that, and after a year of this, they are feeling much growth. So please do not worry if you don't understand everything. That's not our strategy here, that you have to go through all the grammar books and understand first before you can start enjoying. Okay. So this is from the word ata. Ata, which means you. So when you see that at the end of a verb like this, the ta part, we have it here, that reminds you of ata, you. So natan, give, ta, you. Oftentimes, we'll actually only have the tav. We'll just have this letter at the end. That's the more regular way that we see it. But you do get it both ways. So natata without the hay and also with the hay. So it's almost the full word, ata, so that's nice. So this is a perfect form of the verb, perfect meaning complete. Biblical Hebrew doesn't really have past tense and future tense like we do with many other languages. Instead, everything is considered a completed action or an incompleted action. This is why many prophecies look like they're translated, look like they're written in the past, especially if you read an older English translation, like the King James translation. The King James will very accurately mimic the Hebrew at times. So you'll be reading a Hebrew prophecy and it looks like it's in the past tense. It is in English. That's because the King James translators were trying to be true to the Hebrew to keep it in the perfective, right? The idea that it's completed. You could think of this from a spiritual sense, the idea if God says it's going to happen, he who is outside of space time as the creator of all matter, and you really can't have time without matter, then he's the one. If he says it's sealed, it's sealed. So it doesn't matter whether it's a past event or a future event. And I may be super spiritualizing the way the language works because other languages also have this idea of perfect and imperfect. But at least it's a useful way to approach it, I think, and it works hermeneutically. Okay, so ונתתה, because it's perfect, we might see that as a past. You gave, right? You gave or you set. But then biblical Hebrew has this fun thing here we call the vowel conversive. Oftentimes when a vowel is at the beginning of the verb, it will change the aspect. It'll change it. So instead of you gave, ונתתה, or you set, so you shall give or you shall set. Okay, ונתתה, et. We don't translate. This just marks the direct object when it's definite. Shetei, העבתת, hazhav. And here we have a long construct chain. I apologize if the pace is a little bit faster today. I'm trying to pick up the pace a bit for those who prefer it this way, to make everybody happy, those who are just beginning, just learning to read, and also those who have been doing Hebrew for a decade or so. I want everybody to be able to enjoy. If it's too fast and you're watching this, I think someone said even if you're watching it during the premiere, you can click the gearbox on YouTube and you can slow it down. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not doesn't mean you're remedial or anything like that. Just slow it down. This is a foreign language. It's totally fine to slow that down so that it's in sync with where you are with your learning and you can understand. It's really wonderful how YouTube lets you do this and it doesn't change the tone of the person. Yeah, I find it great. In the old days, if you did this, wanted to listen to a teaching slower or something, it just sounded like an alien talking or something. So anyway, we have a construct chain, and if you don't know what this is, just to simplify it a bit, this basically is a way of inserting the English word of in between each of those words. Okay? So I'm going to write it here sideways, of and of. Now, if it doesn't sound right when you go to translate, you can leave the ofs out. Okay? Now, there's something that's special with a construct chain, a chain of words that are in this particular form. You'll learn to recognize the vowel forms that it's construct and not the normal dictionary form, which we call the absolute, in that the last word, if it's definite, that means if it's specified, right? Then the whole chain becomes specified or definite. What I mean by this, I like to use, if you've ever seen the movie Castaway, I like to use this as an example, okay? So if you have a ball, the ball is not definite, it's not specific. If I just say, like, I saw a ball, you don't know what ball I saw. Was it a basketball? Was it the ball sitting over there on the floor? Was it whatever? You don't know. But if I say the ball, the, now it's specific to an English speaker. It's not any old ball. It's been specified. It's definite. The other way you can make an object definite in Hebrew is you could put a suffix on it. This is a way of expressing ownership, right? So you could say it's my ball, right? It's not anybody else's. It's the one that belongs to me, right? And that specifies which ball we're talking about, or his ball, or her ball. The other way, and this is where Castaway comes in, you could name it Wilson. So if something's got a name, then in Hebrew it's considered specific. It's considered definite. Those are the three ways to make something definite. If the and only the last word in a construct chain in Tanachit in biblical Hebrew is allowed to be definite or specified. Okay? If you want to say like a ball of Moses or a sheep of Aaron's, there's a different way to do that. We use the lamed of possession. Okay? So you can't use the construct for that. So this is very specific. It either shows a chain of nouns together that are indefinite, they're all indefinite or they're all definite, okay? And only the last one can explicitly be marked as definite. So here we have the ancient Hebrew word hal, which doesn't show up in the Bible anywhere, but we know from the study of Northwest Semitics that hal was how you said the. That lamed is never visible anymore. All we ever see is the hey from hal. This guy is always gone. Always gone. And usually it assimilates into the first letter of the word that we attach hal to. So I'm trying to get my colors here. So here you see the little dot side of the Zion. That is where the lamed went. That tells me there are two Zions there. An example I always like to use is English in legal came from Latin in meaning not, legal meaning legal, and in legal eventually became illegal with two L's. Same phenomenon happens in other languages. It just looks weird when we look at Hebrew because you're not used to seeing it in your own language. Okay? So hal, zahav became zahav, even though we often pronounce that Zion like it's just one, it really was a two. So because it's definite, it will impart its definiteness to the whole chain. Boom. It's the-ness. You can think of it like that. Okay, now we can translate. I'll zoom in for those of you on smaller screens. So, ונתתה, so you shall set, place, or give, or appoint. We don't translate. Shetei. Shetei is from shetayim, meaning two. This is a construct form. It loses the mem at the end. So that's how we know it's of. So the two of the avotot, cords, of hazhav, the zahav, the gold. Now that first the doesn't sound so right in English, so you can just drop it. So you shall set or place, well, maybe it does work. The two cords of gold. I think that's how I'd probably say it in English. But you can be hyper literal if you want, and then whatever your native language is, work it out nicer later on. Okay, continuing on. If there are any comments or questions and you're watching this in the premiere, please feel free to join our chat. You have to be logged into YouTube to join the chat. All right. If you're not logged in, it won't let you. It also won't let you post comments for later. Sometimes people get confused and they post their comments while we're live in the premiere. So I don't usually notice those. So if I'm not answering, that's what's happening. Okay. Okay. Let me continue on here. Special shout out to one of our new subscribers, the Backyard Professor. Glad to have you here, Achi. Before this video, I was watching one of yours, and I really appreciate the inquisitive and investigative and the mind that wants to learn. So I think I've got a lot to learn from you, and you guys might want to check out his channel as well. That's the Backyard Professor. I've only watched one of his videos so far, but found it very interesting, and I think I'm going to be learning a lot over there. So, all right, let's continue on. And remember, Mishnah Avot, chapter 4, says, the wise man, the chacham, learns from everyone, right? So, all right, let's continue on with part B of our verse. Al, al. Al means usually upon. It can mean with, by, in addition to. So al, upon. Shetei hataba'ot. So we have another construct chain here. It's a smaller one. Oops, I selected aqua. I got black. Not really sure what happened there. I would like to show appreciation to the person who donated the controller that we use. It lets me change colors and volumes and zoom and all that stuff while we're doing especially live teachings and recordings. You know who you are, anonymous donor. You gave this, I think, several months back, and I'm highly appreciative. This may Adonai bless you in all that you're doing in the work of your hands. Really appreciative. for helping our ministry with this nice tool. Okay. In case anybody's wondering, it's a Loop Deck Live. So that's what I'm using, a Loop Deck Live device. Okay. Alapon shetei. So again, that's the same as this guy here. It's actually the word shtayim. And remember, when we have a word that ends in a mem as a plural, and you delete that mem, that's how you say of. That's how you put it in the construct form. So shetei is the construct of shetayim. Often just read shtayim. That's just because of the influence of the modern Hebrew dialect, which this is not a modern Hebrew channel. Sometimes people, they get mad at me and leave comments and, why are you reading it that way? And no Israeli reads it that way. What kind of Israeli are you? Blah, blah, blah. We're not doing modern Hebrew dialect, okay? That's not what this is about. There's lots of channels for that. If you want to learn modern Hebrew, goodness, you can just watch The Lord of the Rings with Hebrew audio turned on. There's lots of stuff over on Amazon Prime you can watch with the Hebrew audio turned on. And I really highly recommend that. If you're interested in learning a modern language, that's how I learned German. Like, at least how I broke into it. I watched Braveheart. I bought the DVD with German audio, and I watched it with German audio and German subtitles, right? So German, because I loved the movie and I already knew everything they're saying in English. I'd probably seen it, I think, 13 times or so. You could mute it and I could just give the audio for you for what they're saying. And this was really a fun way to break into German because then you already know what they're saying, right? You understand what's being said and you can just enjoy the movie. And all the words that are the same as English, bam, you get them right away. And all the words that are similar, you get them right away. And your mind starts to see the patterns, even though you haven't studied the grammar really yet. It's really a wonderful way to learn a language is by watching movies that you enjoy in that language. If it's a popular language, you can't do this with everything. You can't do this with Yiddish. You can't do this with smaller language. But today, modern Hebrew has a lot of stuff that has Hebrew audio in large part because of the economic rise of the modern state of Israel. So almost anything that Amazon Prime puts out, they have Hebrew audio available for it. There's a great science fiction show I like out there called The Expanse. I think they have like 6 seasons and stuff. Not recommending it for everybody. There's some sex scenes and stuff like that, some nudity, some language. So careful if you have small children watching that. But you can watch it with Hebrew audio. So if you're interested in learning how to say radiation in Hebrew and missiles and all this kind of stuff, you can do that. But this channel is for biblical Hebrew. And sometimes we touch on post-biblical, like Dead Sea Scrolls stuff. All right. So please spare me you don't like the way that we're pronouncing certain things or whatever. It's for our audience to learn, for the auditory learners to be able to remember things as well as the visual learners. Okay. So really, really, this is a labor of love for people who want to understand the word of God, which is a cooperative work of man and God in the best way possible, right? Which is the original language. Okay, so continuing on. Shtayim, drop the mem. Shtei is two of. Now I did it with the modern Hebrew pronunciation. It's shetei. It should be a vocal schwa there. Shetei, not shtei, like they'd say in Tel Aviv. Shetei hataba'ot. Two of the taba'ot, the rings. By the way, last week, I gave you guys an example of the Lord of the Rings in Hebrew, but it was biblical Hebrew. So it turns out it's not Adon hataba'ot, it's Sar hataba'ot, right? Sar, like Prince of the Rings. Like, but either one would have worked. It's just translator's choice. Okay. Al, upon, shetei hataba'ot. And look, the same thing's going to happen here. Because the last word is definite, he's going to carry that definiteness over to the first word in the chain. In this case, it's less interesting because it's only one word. Okay? So we say, upon the shetei, two hataba'ot, rings. Okay? El, el, unto. And by the way, just a little tip, if you want to say the lamed correctly in Hebrew, native English speakers don't usually realize this, but in English there are two ways to say an L sound. Slavic languages and some other languages are really aware of this. They even mark it with a nyaki znak, like soft sign, if it's going to be soft, and otherwise or with a tvordi znak, if it's going to be hard. So soft el and a hard l. So think about the English word label. We have a hard L and a soft L. Label, label. That first L, label, think about how you're saying it. Look, 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 label, look. It's like a quick attack. The tip of your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth. Look, look, or maybe close to the teeth even. Look, look. Now think about the second L. What are you doing with this one? Label, label. Notice if we were to make them both the same, we'd say label, label, right? If you attack the second one with your tongue in the same place as the beginning, it would sound differently than how we say it, at least with American English. Label, label, label. Sounds a little bit robotic, right? Or what if we made them both the soft one? Label, label. It sounds almost French, like a French accent. Oh, the label. You must remove the label. Okay, so in English we have two different L sounds. In Hebrew, it's the first one that wins. Okay? This is the winner. If I could draw fireworks, I would. So when you say the word el, we don't say el, el. Again, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But some of you care about pronunciation stuff, so we'd say el, el, el Shaddai, not el Shaddai. Okay? Okay, let's continue. Al shetei hataba'ot el קצות hachoshen. Ktzot. This is another construct form. You can see I have them with the blue boxes around it, so it's a little bit easier to recognize. Oi, that keeps happening when I hit aqua. I don't know why. Actually, I have an idea why. It's how the tech works. Another definite article at the end. Now you notice there's no dagesh here. This is because the height is strong enough. We don't even have to do compensatory lengthening. So you can just put the ha here, and that's enough. Hachoshen, the breastplate, the breastpiece. This is short for hachoshen hamishbetzot, the breastplate of justice or the breastplate of righteousness. Okay. Ketsot is from ketsa, which is an extremity or an end. If you're talking about a garment, it's like the hem, like hanging down below. So, al shetei hataba'ot el ketsot hachoshen. Not hachoshen. No, I did that. Hachoshen. Upon the two rings toward the extremities of the breastplate. And again, we're taking that ha, the Venus, and we're carrying it over to the other words, in this case, just one word in the construct chain. Okay, let me do a quick time check. Okay. For you note takers, I am about to change to the next verse. You might want to get those notes in now. If you're going to do a screenshot or something, you've got 5 seconds. Okay, here we go. Verse 25. Huh, having some PowerPoint issues. Oh, the laser doesn't want to work. That's fine. Maybe it means we're supposed to zoom in. Let's zoom in then instead. Ve'et shetei קצות shetei העבתות titein al shetei hamishbetzot. It's got a mouthful. We'll stop here with the little wishbone looking guy. Here it just looks like a carrot top, but if you are, or like something raised to the power of such and such. But if you have a nice printer, it'll be like a wishbone. That's called the etnachta or the atnach or etnachta. Different nusachs, different minhags say it differently. The Talmud teaches us that this one owns all the words before it, right? So this is like a semicolon in English. Maybe I'll draw that. This guy, it's kind of like a semicolon. Okay. So let's stop there and let's continue on. Ve'et. And now we have the definite direct object marker. We don't translate that into English. Shetei, Ketsot, shetei, ha'avotot. That is a long construct chain. Really cool. By the way, if you're interested in what I was sharing before about the 3 ways to make something definite and their usages in construct chains, then you should definitely check out. Oh, okay. Yeah, for our paid subscribers, check out Isaiah Dominance number 21, the one I just released. I think it was on Sunday. Oh no, on Monday. That's for our paid subscribers only. Sorry about that. Um, the verse happened to have all 3 examples of it, all 3 as construct chains in in one verse in Isaiah. So, or if you just want to go find it on your own, I think it's Isaiah chapter 2, verse 21. Happens to be the same number as the number of the teaching, class number 21. So, yeah, so check that out. Thought it was really neat. Okay, so let's look at how these break down. First, look at the last word. The last word is definite. So, again, that's going to make the whole chain definite. It's got ha there for the, and in this case, we did have compensatory lengthening because we couldn't get the dagesh in here, and ayin rejects it. It came down and lengthened it. So the short vowel patach, which is just a horizontal bar, became the looks like a capital letter T, a long vowel, comets. Okay, so he's going to impart that definiteness to the whole chain. Okay, that's the the-ness, we'll just say. I'm just going to write the one time. Okay, interesting. I can't move that down. All right, maybe we'll go back out. So, the shetei, 2 of the ketsot, extremities of the shetei, of the 2 avotot, chords. Chords. So in case you didn't catch what's happening there, we have our ofs have to come in between because these words that are in blue boxes are all in the construct state. So you naturally try to put an of after them if it works in English. If not, then no problem. All right, next word, titein. Titein. What is happening with titein? Well, that is again the word natan. Natan, like the name Nathan. Natan. And you'll notice the noon is gone. Where did he go? He used to be here. So he got assimilated here. That's what that dot is telling you. This was teinten. Teinten. And the first letter is a tav. Now remember, on the previous verse, I was showing you how a tav at the end of a verb, at the end of a perfect verb, should remind you of a ta for you. Well, when it's at the front of a verb, of an imperfect verb, it also makes us think of you, or it can actually be she, unfortunately, they're the same form. But here it's you, because Hashem, the Lord, is saying things to do. So the ancient word, interesting, I can't move my screen anymore. Okay, tintain became titain, so you shall give, or you shall place, al, upon or with, shetei hamishbetzot. Okay, another construct chain. Hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing here. Well, that's just getting consistent with the black, isn't it? By the way, everyone is welcome, whatever your sect, whatever your denomination. And we've got Orthodox Jews, Reformed Jews, and Christian Baptists. We have some Catholics who come in sometimes, Eastern Orthodox. Anyone who's a believer in the God of Israel who loves the Bible, you are welcome in Hebrew literacy to study the language with us. I, of course, am coming at it from my own personal bias, so excuse me for that. I see it a certain way, and I'm just going to present it that way, right? So hold on just a moment. I need to pause. I have someone in my room here. Okay, just had to boot someone out of here. All right. So the last word, again, it's definite. So should be getting used to this pattern by now. Imparting its definiteness for the first word. So upon the shetei, to hamishbetzot. This is settings. Settings, like the metal parts that accept jewels and such in them, gold or whatever. Venatata. Oh, all right, we didn't can't this part, did we? Okay, fine. Venatata al kitvot ha'efod el mul panaiv. All right. Venatata. So again, the same form we saw on the previous slide. And natanta became natata. You shall set or place al with or upon kitfot ha'efod. Another construct chain. It's like clockwork now. When I hit that aqua, it gets black. Hmm. Basically, the device has a touch screen. It has like a grid of plastic that breaks up the areas. And so I have an icon I made that says, it says gray on the one and aqua on the other, but they're right next to each other. So it's just not properly detecting when I press the aqua, it's activating the gray one. I'm not sure if I can do something about that or not. Maybe if I press lower on the aqua. Okay. So upon the two settings, the natata, natata means you set, placed, or gave, but the vav is changing the aspect. This is a vav conversive. There are more modern names for that, but I like this old grammatical name because it really fits what's happening, especially for immersion. So instead of you gave or you set, and you shall give or you shall set, al upon or with, kitfot ha'efot. Kitfot is the construct plural of this word. It means like the shoulder blade area, right? Shoulder blade and the shoulder. So it includes the shechem, the shoulder, or shichma, and also the shoulder blades of ha'ephod, of the ephod. Compensatory lengthening, the patach, became comets. Because the aleph cannot accept the dagesh. I like to illustrate that like you got a dagesh, he's coming down, and then here he is. He's that part of the vowel. If that's helpful to you, then go with it. El mul panaiv. And okay, well, we have another construct chain here, but this one's kind of idiomatic. Or panaiv. Last word ends in a vav. And if you're new to our channel, I like to use the falsetto, like the high voice for suffixes, to help out the audio learners to know what's going on, or auditory learners. So that's his. It's in a construct because it's panim, which means face or presence. That's where we get Yiddish punim for, like, oh, what a cute punim, what a cute face, grabbing the kid's cheeks. Yiddish, which is basically German from 1,000 years ago, plus has a lot of Hebrew words in it sprinkled in there. So punim is from panim. You drop the mem, pene is face of, and then put the vav at the end, and that's panaiv, face of him, or presence of him. Okay, but mul is like in front of, and panim can also mean the front of something. So el, el, mul, Panaiv is like towards its front. Towards its front. Even though I said his, I think it's a little bit less to memorize than having to think of its. And you can just smooth it out in English or whatever your native language is. Okay. Let me do a quick time check, see how we are on time. I don't want to go over because I don't want people to be thinking, oh, I can't come to this class, it's too long. Okay, maybe 2 verses is okay for tonight. That second one was kind of long tonight or this morning if you're in the Western Hemisphere. So shalom to all of you from the Iyim, from the islands over here in the Philippines. Hebrew literacy is an outgrowth from Congregation Simchat Hashem here in the Philippines, and we are very happy to have you here. If you'd like to support financially the work I'm doing, please check out the link below. Well, it's typed. It says patreon.com/Hebrew literacy. Please consider becoming a patron, a monthly donor, or if you want to do a one-time gift, you can do that over at paypal.me. That's me, slash also Hebrew literacy. Please select friends and family. We really appreciate your gifts. It goes a long way operating over here from a developing nation. And if you don't have to give, you can't give, or you just don't want to, that's fine too. Please consider praying for us that we can continue to reach more and more people with this work. I've heard back from so many people how the directed immersion has really helped them, especially people who are like allergic to just going through grammar books. And really, I think it's a better way. You get right in. The subject that people are interested in is the Bible. So get right into the Bible right away. Learn as you can. And, we're almost finished with Exodus. We're getting close to finishing Exodus. So you could go through all of our teachings and you will have read Exodus in the Hebrew with understanding. And that will start to set in. So we're doing the same thing with First Kings on Wednesdays and with Kohelet, that's Ecclesiastes, on Thursdays. And on Mondays, we're doing the same thing, but auditory only. You don't have to look at the screen for the book of Judges. And of course, on Shabbat right now, we're working through the book of Numbers, and those teachings are usually out just for a week, and then I take them down, the actual sermons, the 2 hour long. Not everybody wants to go through all of that. All right. So glad you guys are here. May you have a blessed day, and let your learning be blessed and your memories be supernaturally touched by Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, shalom.